Howdy and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a real quick video, only one part to install. I know some of my videos tend to be a little bit on the longer side, so this one is very short. Today we're going to install these little guys, Alpha Racing crash pads or frame protectors or frame sliders, however you want to call them. So I just got them and I wanted to say a couple of things before I install them. So before I start going into this one, they came in this little bag, just with the part number. Alpha Racing, come on, do a little bit better packaging. Look at what Gillis Tooling and so on is doing. This is a little bit lame. Then you could say, of course, but they're crash protectors. Doesn't matter if they get dinged up a little bit or so. Well, funny enough, these guys are made out of metal, and so therefore they are painted. And you can see there are ever so slight scratches because they were just rattling around in the bag and had no proper packaging. So this one also, I like, there's some tiny little stuff. Not a deal breaker because these guys are meant for race bikes and they usually are hidden under the race fairing. So you don't see a lot of it. But still, for the price, and that brings me to the next part, these are in Europe usually sold for 89 euros or so, something in the 80s. So that should translate into under 100 US dollar, or just about, I guess. However, I see so many shops selling these for $115, $120 or more, and that's a little bit nuts, right? You really just have like this part and a screw. It doesn't even come with printed instructions. So the price for these little two guys, which are tiny, is a little bit dicey. So I said already, the use case is for race bikes. If you want to run them on the streets, don't. These are designed to be under the fairing, so if your bike tips over in a garage accident or when you park it or so, it won't save your fairings. It will only protect your frame from being scratched or bent, maybe to a certain degree. If you want to have something for just a little bit more, go for these. These are the Gillis Tooling frame sliders. They have a lot more going on. This is the same protector for the same side, which is the right side of the bike. This is from Alpha. You see like tiny little metal piece, and the Gillis one has a little more going on. It was on my previous bike, so there's still some Loctite on it and so on. The cool thing is, well, one, they stick out. Now this is important because when the bike falls over, this is the first thing that touches the ground. And then these are pretty cool. It's going to be hard to do with my fingers, but if I do this, yeah, you can see it bounce. This entire thing is spring loaded. The idea is have very stiff springs inside there, so if the bike impacts, a little bit of that energy gets absorbed by the springs, so you have less chance that the frame gets bent or this thing gets bent. It just absorbs some of the energy. Of course, it will not prevent any crazy accident from having any impact on your bikes, but it helps a little bit. So for city riding, street riding, canyon riding, these are really, really nice. Now, why would you not use them on the track? Well, for one, they're a lot heavier. Especially with this guy, it's probably 5 times heavier. But again, this is not a lot of weight. It's mounted pretty low, so not the biggest deal breaker. The biggest thing is these are designed to stick out. These are designed to be flush with the frame, or as flush as possible. Why does this matter on a racetrack? The racetrack crashes are usually at high speeds and the bikes slide. So when you go down on a racetrack, you want to have something like this because the bike is supposed to slide. Yes, that will ruin your fairings. But if this guy catches the tarmac, especially when you hit the curb or you go into the gravel, the bike usually flips and rotates, and that probably wrecks your bike. I mean, it totals your bike. With that happening, usually the frame gets bent, forks get bent, and the damage is just horrendous. So these guys, that's why I'm going to use them for a racetrack only bike. Do yourself a favor, just pay 20 bucks more and get these for the street. Just my recommendation. There's a lot of other sliders out there, but Gillis Toolings makes awesome products and for a pretty fair price. Enough about the pros and cons. Let's get these tiny guys onto the bike. We have the left side and the right side to do. Bigger one is on left side or shifting side, and this one is on the rear brake side or throttle side. Let's put it that way. You can download the instructions online. I put a link in the description below so you can find them there because they're not printed, so you have to check them online. And the online instructions are also not pretty good. If somebody from Alpha Racing is watching this, guys, maybe improve your instructions a little bit. They could be really better. They work, but they're really not great. Every other company I got parts from does instructions better, especially Gillis tooling. Enough ranting, let's get these guys on the bike. Good, to the installation. We need a Torx 50 and a wrench to break this one open. Isn't too tight. Simple bolt, Torx 50. And we're going to replace it by an ever slightly longer bolt. And you can see this one is an Allen. And to torque it down, you need an 8mm Allen adapter. Also interesting, it actually rubs the stock fairing a little bit. So while I have the stock fairings, I'm going to put here a little bit of tape. Just like to protect the paint from the inside. That shouldn't be a problem once we change to the race fairings. But yeah, another reason, don't use these guys for the street. Also, you can see they're definitely behind the fairings. So it won't do you really a lot of good to use that on the street. We're gonna use blue Loctite. Instead of following the pretty bad instructions and maybe destroying something, I'm gonna use some liberal amount of blue Loctite. Because when I was just trying to torque it down, there were definitely some sounds there that sounded like metal is not having a good time. So I'm just gonna torque it by hand to a feeling that I feel like the screws were in before. And I've Loctite, as this is usually never being replaced, right? Unless you have like a big crash, the Loctite is okay. Also with other crash protectors I had in the engine, never had an issue to get them out. All lines up nicely. All right, snugged it down. Now here we're gonna put a little bit of tape to make sure this is protected. Tape, knife, so make a clean cut. And don't worry, this is only temporary. I already have the race fairings, they just need to get painted. And I have to get the race exhaust because the race fairings won't fit on this bike with the stock exhaust. All right, works for now because it's hitting here. Again, they're not for the road. Let's do the other side. This is the bolt on the other side. Again, a Torx 50. This one's a lot tighter than on the other side. It's also using this case a liberal amount of Loctite. So these bolts are literally holding your engine to the frame, or the frame to the engine. So you don't want them to come out. And this is also something you really don't replace often. Like I said, you would have to go down hard if you want to replace that one. So getting it out is definitely not the main concern. Snug it down. Try to orient it the way that it might slide. You can try to hold it in place. And with a lever like this long, if you press pretty hard and it doesn't move anymore, that should be good enough. This is nice and straight. And there you go. Alpha Racing frame slider on this side is tiny. But like I said, they are just to protect the frame under the race fairing. But yeah. That's it for today, folks. If you like this, please give it a like and subscribe. That will really help out my channel. And as promised, this time around it's a short video. Until next time, with more parts. Bye bye for now.